to the UK as a 17-year-old, alone to pursue higher education. And I came from the country of Libya, and for those of you who don't know, for the past 14 years, it's been experiencing a civil war. And myself, I've lived a childhood of bombing, civil unrest, witnessed terrifying experiences. But to be honest, that's only shaped me and built resilience. And my question to you, Dr. Anis, is, as a youngster, I'm currently building my story myself. And whenever I pitch my story and take on experiences, I want to know when and how and who do I pitch my story to. And I'm also interested in your story. How did you first start off? Because I know that me and yourself share a lot of characteristics in terms of mindset, in terms of resilience, and I believe that I will be successful in the future. But through mentoring and through asking questions like these, putting myself in uncomfortable situations, I can reach there faster. So I'm interested in your story and how do I continue building my story, and how can I find the right people to pitch that story to? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Anis. It was an honor for me to be able to speak here. So it was amazing to hear a lot of leadership story that Mr. Anis was told to us. And then
Itu bisa dipakai.
I will
Papan bisa.
give a
Kalau itu nanti
question.
geser ya.
So all of my beloved friends, Indonesia is locating its capital from Jakarta to Ibu Kota Nusantara or IKN in East Kalimantan to escape Jakarta's growing problems like floods, pollution, traffic, and subsidence. So here I would like to ask, because Mr. Anis was also the former governor of Jakarta, and this kind of theme of this exchange is about sustainable business, and then what I want to ask is, the IKN is branded as a green and smart and designed with a renewable energy and sustainable infrastructure, and then the construction also involves clearing forests and neglecting indigenous communities, raising serious questions about whether it's truly sustainable. As young leaders like us, that we would like to have a lot of tools that, like Mr. Anis said before, to shape our future, and then we cannot forget the transparency push for the truly inclusive planning, like raise awareness. When the development harms people or the environment, so I would like to ask, is like the IKN is a real solution for the sustainable urban development, or are we just simply moving the problem from Jakarta to somewhere else? Because we talk about the future. Yeah, thank you so much.
Your name, please.
Your name? Oh, my name is
Wulan.
Bulan. I'm from Department of Economics, Vocational College. Okay.
Thank you, Bulan.
So, to respond to your questions, Daryl, Daryl and Ali. Let me underline three things that matters in creating narratives. These are the essentials. One is clarity of purpose. Okay? And then second is consistency of message. And three is co-creation of meanings. These are, I would say, the essentials. But on top of that, you need symbolism. Okay? And then Another tools is language. And then real people story. I hope my handwriting is readable. Still readable, yeah? So, these are the tools that you need to create the narratives. So, number one, you need to clarify what is the purpose that you are aiming. Okay? And then you look at issues, you look at the why, and you need to come to conclusions of the roots of the why and the roots of the what to be achieved. So asking why all the time matters a lot. Okay, for Gerald and Ali. And then once you found that, then consistently echoing that message. Consistently. So if I may use my example, in Indonesia, we have a problems in educations of quality of teachers and lack of teachers distribution. So in rural area, in the remote areas, we don't have enough teachers and we don't have quality teachers. So we need to send quality teachers to the most remote area. And the question is, who would do that? I mean, if you're a graduate of Faculty of Economics of Gajah Mada, then there is an offer to be a teacher in the highlands where there's no electricity, there is no phone signals. Would you do it? No, I'd rather work in a bank. I'd rather work in private investment corporations. So this is a problems that we have had for many years. So I look at these problems, and this is my personal experience on creating narratives. And I was not in government. I was fortunate to travel across Indonesia, and I come to conclusions that we need to change the narratives. Because we have been inviting people to serve as teachers with monetary rewards. If you go to the remote areas, we will give you double and triple of your salaries. It's in the monetary values. And it becomes an offer that you can compare. Okay, if I work in a remote area, I get, let's say, 20 million per month. If I start a job in Jogja, let's say I have 7 million a month. Okay, so it's 3 times, I'll do it. You can compare it. But I look at this as a wrong narrative. This is not the narrative that moves people. So we started to change the narratives. We asked the simple questions. You're 22 years old, graduate of university. Do you want to have a second home? A village that you call it your second home? Do you want to have a family that is your second family? Do you want to have an experience that one day somebody come to you and said, "Sir, I am where I am today because you come to my village and teach"? Do you want to have a situation where you can say, "I have served my country" at the age of 25? You don't have to be 65 to say, "I'm someone who has served my country." You're only 25 and you're able to say, "I have served my country." Do you want to have the competence that meet global standards but also have grassroots experience? So all this message is not about monetary, it's not about salary, it's about your experience. Be there, be meaningful, be impactful, and you will gain new features as a young man, as a young woman. And when that narrative changed, suddenly there's so many graduates from best university applying to be a teacher. So when we opened recruitment, we targeted only 500 applicants because the first batch was only 50. So we said, let's recruit best 50 and let's target 500 applicants. It turned out, first batch was 1,500 applicants. Second, third batch is always minimum 15,000 applicants for a slot of around 50 to 100. It's much more difficult to be a teacher in the remote area than to get a scholarship to best universities. Because you change the narratives. Once the narrative changes, then people say, okay, I'm moved by it. And when you meet these best graduates from best engineering schools, they're studying aeronautics, they're studying civil engineering, they're studying, robotics. And then they're serving as elementary school teachers in the remote areas. And when you ask them why you do it, is it for money? Nope, because there's no money involved. It's because the narratives that move you. It's the narrative that create sense of responsibility, sense of urgency. But again, that can only be created once you have the clarity of purpose. And then you start echoing the message in a consistency. And what happened next is creation of meanings. All of those people who are involved in this project, they create narratives. So I am only writing the first page. I'm writing only the first chapter. The rest is being written by everyone involved. Everyone shared their stories, and everyone inspired others. But in the original stage, in the early stage, I have to be the one who's going to places and share with consistency that message. So if you do this, I come to conclusion what matters is 1, these are the essentials, 1, 2, 3, and then you need to create symbolisms. You need to have a language that fit you, and you have to have real people experience. We share that stories. I remember when I had that conversations, someone in that conversation told me, Anis, there is no way you can get the best graduates to serve as teachers in the remote area. This is not possible. And then my reaction was, it's possible. Only if you ask them to serve for 1 year and change with another teachers next year. But if you ask them to be there for 25 years, that's no longer rational. Okay? So we need to translate idealistic purpose into a model that rational men and women will do it. If I serve for 1 year, I will do it. But if I have to serve until I retire, then nobody wants to do it. So you create that model and you send that as a part of your narratives. So both of you, these are the same issues, yeah? Daryl and Ali.
Thank you.
Now, Bulan. Questionnya boleh diulang, Bu?
So, I was looking about moving the capital city to Ikn in terms of sustainability, inclusivity. This is a solution to problems that we face.
I've said it over many times that yes, Jakarta faces many environmental challenges. And Jakarta is also experiencing congestion problems. However, moving the capital into a different city does not solve the problems in Jakarta. It's still there. And in fact, if you look at the statistics, we talk about traffic congestions. Fortunately, I serve as governor, so I know a little bit about the number. Government activities contribute only 4 to 7% of traffic congestion in Jakarta. So when all government officials were no longer there, at least 90% 3% of the problem is still there, at least. So it doesn't really solve the problem, and it may create another issue. And I'd like to underline, IKN is not only about moving the capital city from Jakarta to Nusantara, but IKN is about constructing a new city. Relocating or moving capital to a new city is like moving Bonn to Berlin, that's capital of Germany. Moving the capital from Istanbul to Ankara. Both were already vibrant cities. So you relocate the capital from one city to another. But what is going on today is you created a city to be a capital. So you start from zero. And for that, it will take quite some time. So if I may answer briefly, that it does not solve existing problems. It may also create unintended environmental negative consequences.
So actually my question was, since the narrative on deforestation is, a lot of it is focusing on macro implications on the earth, I was going to ask, like, how can we create a story that touches individuals on a more personal level? Because when we tell stories on a macro level, like for deforestation, people don't really care about the impacts that they may have on their future generations. They only care about the impacts for themselves, like what is it for them. So, for example, for the story of deforestation, how can we create a narrative that can resonate with people on a personal level, so we can get them to become change makers?
But again, to do that, one, you need to talk to various stakeholders, engage, understand their views, understand their constraint, understand their interest, and then start to think of what would be the better way to create new narratives. I don't have specific answers to that, but I can tell you the method, because that was also the method that I went through. When I came to Jakarta and started the work, oh my God, there's so many disparities here. And these disparities has been around for decades. How do I change this? Should I start to create policies? Should I start create strategy, or should I create narratives? I decided to create narratives. And the narrative was social justice, keadilan sosial. And when I used that keadilan sosial, and let me also share about this, when you're in leadership roles, if you lead 20 people, you give everyone assignments. If you lead 2,000 people, you create structure. You create organizational structure. You create job descriptions and then statement of missions and key performance indicators. That's if you're managing 2,000 people. But if you're managing 200,000 people, or you're managing 200 million people, as a leader, what you need is no longer organizational structure. What you need is values translated into narratives that can be understood by all leaders. So the statement that I made at that time was social justice, and I asked every department to translate that into policies. And suddenly, you create change. You move that. And let me give you that one example. That Jakarta has to be a city that creates sense of equality. I remember at the beginning, the head of the park departments came back to me and said, Panis, in our department, our focus is on selecting plants, create landscape, making parks, but equality is never on our mind. How do I translate equality in park departments, city park department? So I said, let's open a map of Jakarta, and point out where are the parks in Jakarta. And when you look at the map of Jakarta and you point out the parks, suddenly you realize that not all areas have parks. Only areas of the middle class that have parks. But congested kampungs, neighborhoods, they don't have parks. So is it equal access to parks or not? So no, okay, then using that one line, that narratives, you translate into policy, suddenly change happened. See, then focus on building parks in districts, in sub-districts that previously has no parks at all, because equality is there. And the measurement of success is that everyone, citizen of Jakarta, has equal access. So now, if you look at the map of Jakarta, you can say everyone, wherever they stand, within 900 meters, they will find a park. Within 900 meters. Why? Because we built more than 400 parks in 4 years. And suddenly everyone has access to parks. And also you shifted the meaning of parks. Bahasa Indonesia, in Bahasa Indonesia, it's called taman. In English, you have two words for taman. Garden and park. Right? Our park, our taman is garden. Everywhere is garden. How do you know it's garden? Because there is a sign. Do not step on the grass. When you see the sign, do not step on the grass, it means this is a garden. In a park, you walk on the grass, you play on the grass, right? And across the globe, if you look at cities, it has parks, not garden. When it is a garden, then not everyone is able to enjoy. But when you send that message, equality as your principles, the parks has to be enjoyed by everyone, including those who doesn't have a space in their home to play, because they go to the park so that they can play. So, but to come up with that, you need to talk, you need to observe, and you need to sense yourself with the values, with the purpose that you want to sort of use as inspirations. Okay?
Thank you for your insightful speech. My name is Samuel. I'm from University Surabaya, and I want to ask about each of us, all of us have a different needs, right? For example, let's take a real problem in Raja. Some of us have a needs to keep the environment, right? But there are some of others that have different needs to have the mind and sell the resources. So, as a leader, how can we combine those different needs into one narrative so that both can agree on doing the same thing, not only keep deciding who's wrong and who's right. How can we combine those two different needs into one narrative? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alex, for the answers before. My name is Aska, I'm from UGM, and I would like to ask about maybe the macro thing, because we heard a lot about Indonesia Emas 2045, right? So, Indonesia Emas 2045. Indonesia Emas.
You need to say it loudly, mas. Okay?
So, I would just like to ask, what do you think, what kind of narratives we as a nation have to tell the world maybe in the next 20 years, and how can we help as a maybe future young leaders and as a student to support that narratives? I think that's all.
All right, thank you.
Samuel, can you tell me a little bit about what you mean by the Raja Ampat problem so that everyone here also understand?
Raja Ampat is one of
You can stand up, you can stand up.
like from what I know, Raja Ampat is like one of our nature like this, one of our this nature, and lately there are a plan to change that nature into a mining sector. So that's why there are a different here collapse in Raja Ampat. That's from what I know.
Yeah. If I may respond to that, the issue is not so much about narratives on that issue. The issue is about government need to have consistencies in their policies. What are the priorities here? And anyone operating under a connection with internet, can you show pictures of Raja Ampat so that everyone here can sense it? Just Google.
Diving spot. Diving spot.
Yeah, diving spot. But for our international participants, you may not understand what is. Yang pegang laptop, nyalain laptopnya, lihat Google. Ini, yang sini diganti Google nih. Okay. Now let me respond to Aska, question Aska about what can we do to prepare for the 2045, 100 years of independence of Indonesia. Let me underline, this is a very interesting approach that the state create a message that Indonesia Emas, golden age of Indonesia, will be achieved in 2045, 100 years after independence. And for that, government needs to do A, B, C, D to meet that purpose. Okay, so your question is, as a young Indonesian, what should I do, right? So if I may suggest, equip yourself with global competence. In your role, if you are a student of Department of Economics, ensure yourself to master your knowledge well. One. Number two, create international networks. Be a global citizen. Number three, master international language. And number four, comprehend challenge that our communities is facing in Indonesia. And I often use the term global competence with grassroots understanding. So on the one hand, you understand our grassroots, but on the other hand, you comprehend global competence. That's what needed in 2045. So that's for Aska. Samuel. So this is Islands of Raja Ampat. So if I may respond, Samuel, this is not so much about the narrative, but this is about whether government decide to prioritize preservation, protection of nature, or prioritize mining at the expense of environmental and natural protections. So, is this the
current
Island?
Just two.
pictures.
Just two pictures.
Oh,
Before operation.
okay. So Raja Ampat is the entire area. For those of you who are international, these are the area that Samuel talked about. One of the most beautiful diving spot in the world. And there is a mining project going on, and it sparks controversy. Should the mining continue, or should the mining project stop? So this is, if I may say, this is not about narratives, but this is about, not only about narratives, but this is about priority. Now, there are areas in which you allow exploitation to happen, you may not be able to come back. There is now sustainable mining approach that can be done, and there's many examples to that. The question is that approach may not be applicable to areas where beauty, where scene like Raja Ampat is present. In areas where you don't have diving spot like this, a beauty like this, you may adopt a sustainable mining approach. But here, I think it's very challenging. So, government of Indonesia need to decide if you allow mining project to take place, you may not be able to see Raja Ampat again. It's gone. If you protect Raja Ampat, then mining projects need to go somewhere else. That is the dilemma that government is having. And my suggestion is when you have beauty like this and disrupted by economic activities and you lost it forever, it will be a huge loss for humanity, not only huge loss for Indonesia. So better keep it. Allow mining projects to take place somewhere else. And there are so many other spots that can be exploited and still give protection. Once you lost all of this, it takes millions of years for that area to become one of the most beautiful diving spots. But it takes only a few years to make it gone. And once it's gone, you never get it back. So that's my answer, Samuel.
One more question, Pak Alis. Yeah. Ali.
Why do you think this government would do such things? Why do you think, how do you think that they do not know that if they do the mining, is it a problem of comprehension? Is it a problem of, do they not have the comprehension or the understanding that if they do the mining,
Bisa dihapusnya gimana caranya?
Why would they do such things, my question?
Ali, you come up with interesting questions. Why this is happening? Are they not thinking? Right? It is obvious. But again, how you make decision is based on the framework that you have in your mind when you're making decisions. So I'm going to chart an outline that will give us illustrations of how we think when we make decision. Tes, masuk ya suara.
Should have stayed as the government, at least.
Kenapa kan?
You should stay in the government. You plan to.
You might tell him that you are the contender of president.
From everybody that was
Candidate president.
the candidate president.
Alright, so anyone, especially international students, so Pak Aris is one of the was the candidate of president of Republic Indonesia.
I already know, huh?
Yeah, you do your homework, right? So, when we think of should I do this, should I not do it, then you start comparing the loss, the cost Cost and benefit. What's the cost? What's the benefit, right? When we do this, we often come up with pragmatic answer. It is more beneficial to take or to make a policy than to make a B policy. Because of what? Because we compare the loss and the cost. But if I give you another dimension, this is a new dimension. And this dimension talks about values. This dimension talks about cost and benefit. In terms of values, there is no such a thing as cost and benefit, right? It's right and wrong. This is loss versus profit. Now, leaders, when they make decisions, they have to understand these two dimensions. If leaders make decisions only based on one dimension, then you are trapped into this situation. Because you don't take into considerations values. So leaders that uphold values will have ideology. Leaders who don't uphold values, they have no ideology. When you have no ideology, then you can decide simply on one dimension. And this can get you into a trap of pragmatism or even opportunistic. Because this is the area where pragmatic approach is there. This is the area where ideology is present. So that's why when you get into leadership, and especially leadership in managing multi-stakeholders, you have to have ideology. Because that ideology would drive you into decision what is right and wrong. Ideally, you make a decisions and the area is here. This is best. Right in terms of values and positive, the impact, right? This is impact, this is values. This is the area that you need to avoid. You don't want to get into here. It is wrong and it's costly. Negative impact and wrong. This is the area of judgment. This is wisdom. You need to exercise wisdom because you may take something that has positive impact but wrong. Okay? Or something that is not right but negative impact. That's required judgment. And leadership operate in this area. One, Parimon. Kalau warnanya mau jadi kuning nggak merahnya?
Bentar. Oke, ini.
Oke. Top one. This is an area that you want to avoid. Don't go here. Okay. This is an area that you may be able to do. 1, 2, 3. Okay? This spark controversy. This spark controversy. This everyone will agree. Okay? But when you decide with clarity, with data, with scientific method, you dare to face controversy. Why? Because you can argue why you make that decision. But if you have no data, you have no clarity, you have no scientific method, then you suppress your criticism. Why we have authoritarian regime? Because they don't exercise with this decision. So your critics will be criminalized. Your critics will put in jail. Why? Because your decision is not based on these three things. But if your decision is based with data, based with a scientific method, with clarity, you never avoid debate or conversations. And that's the beauty of democracy. So, if I may come back to this is an area where young leaders need to start thinking. So from now on, think about this diagram and make sure you avoid this area. Okay? But you may make this decision. So come back to that questions. You can put that into this diagram, right? The impact is negative. Right and wrong, it is wrong. But why that policy was made? Why policy was made? Because they are thinking simply about, not thinking about values. So that's why I always said, let's ensure that we have values into our mind as leaders. And with that values, you can create narratives. You can create ideas. Okay?
Thank you.